Whether it's your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids, your coworkers, your boss, everybody has to have boundaries. And they're very healthy for every relationship that you're going to get in. So, we're just going to kind of dive into what we can do to set better, healthier boundaries and the importance of it. First of all, guys, boundaries are so much needed in everything that you do. That is your value, your thoughts, your opinions, what you will allow, what you will accept, and what will happen with your life. And when we don't have boundaries, it kind of puts us at risk to have a whole lot of emotional chaos. Okay, physical chaos. It can just be a horrible situation. Many people in relationships do not have healthy boundaries when they first start. For example, in an intimate relationship, when you're talking to your spouse or your significant other, and you're like, I don't want to get into my savings account at all. Well, the other person might not have that same, boundary, and might not have that same idea. So they come to you and they're like, but we could really use it. And you're like, okay, we give in so fast and easy. The problem with that is that it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel of a less a person. It makes there be some resentment there. Okay. Not only about, money, but let's talk about if you're the only one doing everything in your relationship, right? The reason that's happening is because you never set your defined boundary. You never set a boundary to say no. You find it hard to say no. Therefore, it leaves a lot of problems within that situation. Okay. If you cannot tell somebody no, you are going to be feeling very resentful for anything that might come up that yes or that no might have helped when you said yes. Um, and I say this because it's not just intimate relationships. You started a new job and you want to make a great impression. So they're like, hey, do you want to work 5 hours of overtime? Sure. Okay, great. You want to work 5 more hours of overtime? Sure. And then before you know it, you've been there 4 days and you've had, a minimum of, you know, let's see, 16 hours off. Because what they've done is they've asked you to do it and asked you to do it, and you're not set, your boundaries aren't set, so you're falling into that. Well, then you're sitting there talking to your coworkers like, "I always have to be working." No, you don't have to be working. You don't have to be working. You have to set boundaries and know what you want. You have to be able to say no. You have to be okay with saying no. It's something that we have to do, okay? There's benefits to setting boundaries. And it's hard. It's very hard. Boundaries are hard, very hard, because you really don't want to make people mad or, offend anybody. But in reality, if you set boundaries that are appropriate and healthy, you're going to feel better overall. And it's important that we think of it that way. Yes, it's not fun, it's hard, it's anything that you can think of, right? But again, a boundary is a rule or guideline of how we tell others to treat us. Okay? And if we cannot set those boundary of what's acceptable and what isn't, others will go ahead and break any thought of a boundary that there could be for the purpose of you not standing up to yourself. Um, a boundary can be verbal, a boundary can be physical, a boundary can be work related, or boundary can be in a personal relationship or with your children. One that I hear all the time is, well, they just do whatever they want to do and they act like they're not listening. They're doing that because you've set no boundaries with your children. They're treating you that way because you had no boundaries. You didn't say no. You went ahead and caved to yes. You didn't set rules and guidelines for them to follow. So, therefore, you had no boundaries, and now your life is awry, and you've got children running amok, and you have children treating you like you are nothing, and you're hurt. You're feeling ashamed. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling all the things that you would feel because guess what? You've allowed things to happen that you didn't want to accept, right? Well, in reality, if you set boundaries, you become more compassionate, more caring, more concerning because if you have boundaries, you know that others should have boundaries, right? So there's compassion to the other's boundaries. You know that, the boundaries are healthy and they're respectful and they're kind. It's not a right or wrong. It's not a mean or nice. It's a boundary that's healthy to allow your mental stability to stay where it is. Okay. Also, with boundaries, if you're allowed to, follow through with your boundaries, you get assertiveness without being rude. You learn how to assert your needs, your wants, your desires. And it's not mean, rude, or unkind, right? Another benefit, everything you want, all your needs are being met because you set your boundaries, you stuck to your boundaries, and good things are happening, right? So you're just feeling a little bit better. A boundary, another healthy benefit, you're also feeling healthier. You're going to feel less stress, less anger, less resentment, less feelings of ugh, and nothing's going to be holding you down as far as what people have been allowed to do to you. Okay. And overall, you're going to be able to, just feel at ease. Everything's going to be okay. You're not stressing because this person's treating you this way. You're not telling others that somebody's treating you this way. You're not having to worry and complain and hurt because of how others are treating you because you've already set those boundaries and now they're respecting those boundaries and life is pretty good. Right. And when we do that, it resonates into our every other day life. Right. So, for example, I've talked a lot about how I worked my butt off. I like literally worked my butt off. For years, I worked two jobs. Okay. I worked my one corporate company and I was doing my therapy on the side, to get out of school, to get into the, supervision, to do all the things. I worked my tail off. Well, then once I quit the one corporate job and went into therapy, I did everything. Like I dove in, I dug in, and I did anything that was asked of me. I had no boundaries, none whatsoever. And then I would find myself coming home and saying, God, I worked so hard. I can't believe they made me do that. Blah, blah. Just whining and crying and being very negative and just resentful that I was working this job and working my tail off, and they didn't seem to care. It's not that they didn't care. If I would have said no, they wouldn't have asked. They were meeting my needs, so they thought. They were giving me the hours that they thought I wanted because I just kept taking them. I never set that defined boundary. I never said no. I never put my foot down and set my boundary and said, it is not healthy for my mental capacity to be able to do this. I cannot do it for you. Had I tried that, had I done that, I can only imagine what the last 3 or 4 years would be like. It would have been completely different. I would have done so many things differently had I put my boundaries in place from the beginning. And we just don't because, we don't think about ourselves. We don't think about the long-term effects. When we start breaking what we want in life, it's to please somebody. We're wanting to make somebody happy. We're wanting to feel that need for others, but we're not thinking about ourselves and it becomes very unhealthy. You know? Another great example. You are in a relationship, a brand new relationship. Okay. And you're like, I am not going to loan this guy any money. There's not going to be any money. We're not going to do anything financially. You get into that relationship, you get into the position where you're at, and then all of a sudden they need $5 and you give in. Well, guess what? They're going to need tomorrow? $5 more. And you're just going to give in again. Kids are the same way. They're going to keep doing it because you won't stick to your boundary. You won't say no. You will not have the ability to say no if you have no boundaries. And guys, once you get those boundaries in place, once you're working and you've done that hard work to get those boundaries and you've got it instilled, it really does get easier. I'll call myself out. I have a child that would take $10 every day if I allowed it. They did. They did. And until I said I won't do it, they did it every day. But once I said that, and once that boundary was set, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. Guess what happened? It stopped. They stopped. That behavior of continuing to do what they were doing stopped because I put my boundary in place and I shared it. I didn't have to be rude. I didn't have to be hateful. I didn't have to be bitchy. Nothing. Just a simple no, I can't do that. Now, since then, have we conversated and said why? Yes. You know, yes, we have. You know, um, I work with a lot of younger kids, and this one really gets me because when they're in their teens and they're going through all the changes in life, and they have this big goal of I don't want to have sex, right? They can verbalize that. But what happens is when somebody comes on to them and keeps being persistent, they don't have the boundary set to say no and walk away. They continue to stay there because they like that attention, that feeling that they're getting in the moment. And so everything that they said that they didn't want to do, they end up doing because that boundary wasn't made aware of. They didn't say no, stop, don't, and just have it in. They did what they wanted. They did what they wanted. The other wanted them to do because they didn't want to make the other feel bad. So here we are, 6 weeks in, that relationship ends now. And then you're like, I shouldn't have done that. How ashamed I am of myself. And it's a true feeling. When we let others break our boundaries, when we let others come in and just take over, it's a bad feeling. It's a gross feeling. It is, but only we can change that. We don't have to let that one time define us. We don't have to let just what just happened continue. You don't even have to do it again with the same person. You can say, I don't want to today. It's not what I wanted. And it's either going to change and the other is going to respect you as a person and expect your values and your wants and needs, or they're going to leave. And guess what? If they leave, they were not for you. Let that sink in. If they don't respect your values, your beliefs, your wants and needs, and they choose to keep overstepping your boundaries, let them go. Because it's not about you. It's not a problem for you. It's nothing negative to you. It's that they aren't aware that they can do the same thing and probably be a lot happier in life. You know? Um, I think about, all the relationships that I've been in and all the things that I did just to please somebody. And in my gut, when I would go to bed at night, I'd be like, why did I do that? Why? Why did I do that? And it's because I didn't understand the safety and the peacefulness and the happiness that I could get from getting boundaries that were healthy for me, my mental state, who I was, and my body, just everything. I never knew what that positivity could feel like. So once I did that, life changed. Life changed a little, you know? Think about it. If somebody comes up to you and hits you, how do you do? What do? You react, you know? I have seen many a times that I've had to be like, nope, this is my bubble. Don't get in my space when I'm with these littles. And they don't get it. But I'm doing that not only for me, but for these little guys. I'm doing it for their safety. We don't want our children walking up to anybody at Walmart and trying to grab them and hug them and have them hold them or kiss them. No. So you have to teach those boundaries. You have to teach the hard boundaries. Um, I seen a person the other day. I had never met this person. They were a younger. They were a younger. They walked into where I was, put their hands up, come running up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. If you're going to do that with me, you're doing that with anybody. And somebody's going to pick you up and take you out that. No, we don't do that, honey. So I put my hand out and I said, oh no, thanks. Let's do a punch, a fist punch. So we did a fist punch and he looked at me like I was half crazy. Like, rude? But it's because he doesn't understand. He doesn't know. He's not been taught. That's something that's new to him. So I get it. I do. But guys, start thinking about your boundaries. When you finish this video tonight and you're sitting there this weekend, think about what your boundaries are, what you will allow, what you won't allow. Think about your values. Think about your wants. Think about your needs. Develop boundaries. Write them down if you have to. They are so healthy. So healthy. And you don't have to be valuing your boundaries and not respecting others. You can value your boundaries and you can respect others. A matter of fact, part of respecting others is being able to communicate with them. No, I don't want to do that. Thanks. Instead of just jumping right in and doing whatever, you know? And I think we don't think about the safety and we don't think about the calmness. We don't think about the stress relief. We don't think about all the things. If we just truly thought about our values and took care of our needs, I don't think we would see some of the issues that we have today. So I don't know. It's just something that I really think about that, I've been dealing a lot with this week. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. And I talk about it a lot in an everyday situation with clients. And it's time for us that aren't in therapy to start thinking about boundaries and what our boundaries are, what our boundaries are and how we have people respect them, how we respect others' boundaries. We need to think about that because the world is just different today. It's just different. Nobody seems to understand what boundaries are, right? So like I said, when we get done with this video, go think about your own boundaries. Go think about what you need to fine tune, what you need to tweak on your boundaries, what you need to redo, what you've been doing. How do you help others learn about boundaries? Think about that. And then when you've done that, if you still have questions, reach out. Reach out. Let's talk about boundaries. You reach out to me. We can talk about boundaries all day long. Okay. But for tonight, I'm going to go ahead and get off here and I will be back on Monday with a new video for the week. So until then, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications. And have a wonderful weekend, guys. Bye.